Let's move on to the next game. Your boys finally
Yeah.
to talk about Arkansas, Cincinnati at Arkansas. Arkansas 6.5 point favorite over under 52. This game's at 3:30 Eastern on ESPN. Important losses on both teams lost an NFL receiver, but the loss of Treylon Burks is massive. And how are they going to replace him? They have some talent. They brought in some more talent. Still have a really good offensive line. Still have KJ Jefferson, but the Arkansas would deal a lot of injuries, like the offensive line depth, one of the running backs, the receivers have been kind of banged up. I'm curious to get your update on the health. Defensively, you get Catalan back, Bumper Pool, Barry Odom leading the way. Should be a solid Arkansas team going up against a Cincinnati team that made the college football playoff last year. They will now have a new quarterback after losing Desmond Ridder. And they also lost 6 starters on defense in the NFL, including 3 in the secondary, 2 phenomenal cornerbacks. From the looks of it, I would think, and Fickle's hinted at this, that the defense might look different this year. Might not be as much man based on the personnel. You might see more 4-man fronts, which I think would be smart in this game. Kind of burnt them against, the safety's going to probably come up in the box more. Really burnt them against Alabama. Their run defense wasn't great last year at times, and Alabama really took advantage of it. Alabama didn't even have a great rushing attack last year. So I think that you'll probably see more guys in the box here, daring Arkansas to prove they can throw downfield. And while Cincinnati also did lose a lot of talent on the defensive side in the front 7, they still have a lot of talent there. And I actually think that they'll be better against the run. They're not as quick off the edges, but I think they're bigger, bulkier. And that's important against an Arkansas team that wants to lean on the run. So my question is 2-part here, and you can break this game down. How much will Arkansas miss Burks? What do you think the game plan is going to be? I basically want you to convince me to hit this under, because I really do like the under. And on the other side, do you trust Arkansas's defense to shut down what I presume will be Ben Bryant at quarterback and the Cincinnati offense, which has some talent on the outside, and they've returned their entire offensive line, which is big. What do you see in this matchup here? I know that you already played Cincy.
Yeah. The number's too big against Cincy. And I think a lot of people see the brand name Cincy, know what they've lost with Desmond Ridder and Sauce Gardner and think, well, Arkansas is just going to steamroll them. That's kind of the initial thoughts that I had, because when you look at Arkansas's schedule, you're kind of sizing up defensive front sevens and saying, who can they not run over? I think it's a little bit of overreaction. The number should be closer to 3.5, not closer to 7. So I think the number is still good there for Cincinnati. This is going to be a vanilla game plan for Arkansas, especially with South Carolina on deck. But to address your questions, the loss of Treylon Burks is absolutely massive. I believe he had 3 times as many targets as the next wide receiver, Warren Thompson, last year. He was the Mr. Everything in third downs. He was Mr. Everything in the red zone. You just don't replace that overnight. And yeah, I like that Hazelwood, who, by the way, is in a no contact jersey with injury this week. We're not sure how bad that injury is. You look at Warren Thompson, who's getting some more, getting some more attention in scrimmages with KJ Jefferson. And then you see Matt Landers transferring in from LSU. He's getting some attention at the wide receiver position, but this is not the strength of Arkansas. The strength of Arkansas is Raheem Sanders and that running game. Now, Dominique Johnson, who was one of those, that 4-headed monster that they had last year, he's not playing in the first 2 games. There's an injury there too. Now, the good news is the offensive line is completely healthy. All the starters are back. One filling in. He was a reserve, but, played quality time last year. Arkansas is going to line up and run the ball like crazy. Can Cincinnati defend that? They should be able to have some sort of success. They do lose some players out of the front 7, but Cincinnati was a top 30 team in standard down success rate. What does that mean? They were really good in getting you into passing downs last year. That's a Fickle defense. I know he's going to change schemes. He's going to mold it to what they have, but Fickle's always been top 30, top 25 in standard down success rate. The way you beat this Arkansas team is get KJ Jefferson to pass. Cincinnati's excellent at doing that, and Fickle will sell out of everything to get them in long distances in second and third down. So once we get there, KJ Jefferson is going to have to learn to have a life without Treylon Burks. That just doesn't, like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. Ask me about Arkansas and their third down targets in 6 games. Ask me about them, their red zone targets in November. Right now, it's a problem because it's a bunch of unproven players. So I think the offense is going to be slow, grinding. They are going to take shots, but it's to unproven players, and KJ Jefferson has to learn in game real time to hit players that aren't named Treylon Burks. It's a massive loss. Now you go to the other side. Pressure is such an issue for Arkansas. They were lucky enough to go to the transfer portal, get John Ridgeway at nose, get Trey Williams in at edge, presented all this pressure that allowed them to drop 8 and handle any passing attack. They weren't generating any pressure. About a week and a half ago, they decided to go to a 4-man front. Isaiah Nichols wasn't cutting it as the new nose. We're going to go to a 4-down front. What does that do? Barry Odom, the defensive coordinator, can no longer just drop 8. That takes one guy out of coverage. That means Ben Bryant wants to go back and pass. There's one less guy there to defend that. And, I think that is going to be a huge issue. So it's really.
And you can't disguise as much.
No, you can't.
Which he's very good at.
Right. And Jalen Catalon is not a true nickelback. He's more of a roaming safety. And, I think they don't really have a player picked out to be a true nickelback that can play up on the line, kind of fall back in the secondary. So there's a little bit of self-identification that Arkansas has got to go through here in this first game. I don't think this is going to be easy whatsoever. So considering that Cincinnati is extremely well coached, Arquan Bush is still there on the defense as their nickelback. That's somebody that can roam and do whatever he wants, depending on how Arkansas lines up. There's injuries already in the backfield. Dominique Johnson isn't going to play. It's going to be the Raheem Sanders show. Unproven on the outside. This is going to be a grind. So Arkansas is going to take shots at some point down the field. Not sure if that's going to be successful. Arkansas is going to have to learn to play with only 7 defenders in the passing game. Can Ben Bryant take advantage of that? He was 14 of 7 TD to INT for Eastern Michigan last year. This is obviously a homecoming for him. He transferred out. He's back after 1 year. So we'll see. But I think the number is way too high. The perception of Arkansas is a little bit too high, especially on teams that can force Arkansas out of standard downs and into second and third and long. That's what Cincinnati's going to do, and we'll see if Arkansas can work their way out of it. Now, Sam Pittman's been a moneymaker, Stuck. I don't like fading him, but this number is just too inflated.
Yeah, the offensive line, too, has had a lot of injuries for Arkansas, especially in the depth. Like, if someone gets hurt, it's like true freshman getting thrown in there. So we'll see. I think Bush actually will end up playing on the outside, but I'm curious to see how they move him around and then what they play from a coverage standpoint. It's a little bit unknown that Arkansas might not be prepared for it because I don't think they're going to play the same defense last year, and they're changing their front, too.
Important for your under. These two defenses are yearly top 25 in defensive finishing drives. Those are the kind of teams you want unders on.